not this is not a culture that we permit on the media, I mean on radio, whichever one. But I tried, but the network has been really poor. All right, moving on now. My name is Jennifer Emejuru. I am a journalist, practicing, also an on-air presenter, and I do all of this on Nigeria Info FM Port Harcourt. And thank you so much to Oga Sami. Thank you, boss. Thank you. Okay, let's go right into what we're talking about today, news stories ideas. It's really important because we are hoping that from the next generation superstar training institute, if that's correct, we hope that we will not just graduate people who would be just one way media persons, but want to get a one size fits all. So we are hoping that at the end of your stay, you should be able to do almost everything when we talk about the media. You should be able to read the news, write the news, present a program, and as well go out on the field to sort for the news. And of course, most media houses these days will only employ you if you can do all of these things. People want to save their monies. They want to employ someone who is multifaceted. So that's why it's important that even as an on-air presenter, like so many people want to be called, it's also good that you know how to read the news, you know how to write the news, and then you know how to go out on the field for the news. So you must have a nose for news. Okay. News story ideas is a very complex and easy thing to do. It's really complex and easy at the same time. I say complex and easy because if you do not put in the work, you might be blank. You can go blank for a whole week and you don't even know what you're doing, but you're going to work. You don't have any reports with your name on it apart from press releases. You don't have any reports on your name apart from this person said this, a governor said that. And that, of course, is not what journalism is about. Okay, so this session, I don't have anything scripted, but I just have a few points I'll be sharing. So I might go back and forth. Please bear with me. But try to take down as much as you can take down, I beg you. And it's not a classroom work. I'm not a teacher. So feel free to cut me, interject where you have a question, you have contributions. You can just raise up your hand and, our moderator from the other end will tell us what to do. Are we still together, please?
Very much so, sir. Wow.
Okay, all right then. Okay, all right, let's proceed now. There's something I have understood in my course of going on the field. A lot of people, most times, we go out and then we come back empty. You have a company that gives you a vehicle to go sort for news, but you go and you come back empty. That would be the most heart-wrenching thing you can do to your employer. If they give you all your resources, they are paying you, and then you're supposed to go and bring the news and you go and come back with just one news story. You do it today, you do it tomorrow. On the third day, they will tell you, come, Oga, we don't understand. So that's why you need to really think out of the box as a news reporter. And I want to advise everyone listening to me, please. I'm not a fan or a journalist that prefers to be called OAP. I don't like that tag. I like to be called a broadcast journalist. And I hope that we also inculcate that. So you can do a lot of things. You should be able to read the news, write the news, everything. That's how you assume that title, broadcast journalist. And not being an OAP who doesn't know what is obtainable on the field. So that brings us to the term enterprise reporting. Enterprise reporting. Of course, if you studied mass communication in any of the universities, I want to believe that you have been taught or you have come across the word enterprise reporting. It means thinking out of the box. It means creating your own news stories. It means sorting for news stories where a lot of people do not see news stories. Now, it's the hardest thing to do, and it's been very challenging for some people. And that's why you tune into a radio station today. you hear a particular news story. In the afternoon, you're hearing that same story. In the evening, you're hearing the same story. And you're wondering, is that the only thing that's happening in this country or in this town? Why? I mean, you get bored. And that's because most people have failed to see the need to do enterprise reporting. Now, recently, we had the stampede issue in Port Harcourt. And trust me, if you tune into your radio any moment or if you tuned in any moment from Sunday morning, I'm sure all through the week, we'll still have radio stations want to talk about the stampedes, and you will get tired of it. You would get tired of it. So searching for news story ideas and enterprise reporting helps you to understand that you need to look beyond what people see. So there has been a stampede in Port Harcourt. Okay, fine. You've reported it on Saturday. You reported it on Sunday. Don't tell me you want to report a stampede on Monday. I will tune off. It's okay. So what's more from the stampede? So that's where you need to really be a creative. That's where you really need to be someone who has passion for the job, passion for news writing and news reporting. Now, it's important that you monitor stories. It's important that you overhaul stories. It's important that you revive your story. And doing all of this means getting different angles. Again, back to the stampede. So we heard that about 31 persons lost their lives. It's now time for you as a field reporter to, you can want to visit a family. You may want to visit a family that lost somebody. You may want to visit the hospital. You may want to visit the place where the incident happened. You may want to visit a church member. One of the members of a church rather, where the charity stuff was, the organizers of a program. You might want to visit a church member. You might even want to visit the owners of the park. You might want to visit the security people. All of these things are different news story angles and different news story ideas. That's why I said it's really simple, but it's complex. Again, giving your story a facelift is so important, especially for radio. If you after now you get affiliated with a radio station, radio is a very fast-paced medium. I mean fast-paced because news is happening, things are happening. A lot of things are happening. So people want to move on. You have a news at 12, before 1 o'clock, so many things are broken. So there is this fast pace. There's always something to talk about, always something to talk about. So it's very important that you keep at it. You keep at giving your story the facelift that it needs for every new bulletin, for every new new news update time, whether it's 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 2:30, whatever your medium uses. So I have a few points how you can, develop or generate great story ideas. So without any much ado, let's go over to them. First of all, we start with creating a niche for yourself. You need to create a niche for yourself. And that means having a beat. Now, people have argued that having a beat limits a reporter. I do not think so. You read vast, you know so much about everything, but it's also very important for you to be a journalist or a news reporter that would be gaining recognition. Then you need to create a niche for yourself. It is very important. You need to create a niche. It could be a niche in the health sector, entertainment sector, politics, education, agriculture. I'm saying agriculture because this place is so untapped. Agriculture, petroleum industry, business. You could create a niche. I mean, this is even so broad. You can even want to limit your niche creation to something as little as the girl child. You can create a niche for yourself with something as little as the girl child. It can be the world famous girl child reporter, everything about the girl child. This alone is a great story idea content. So creating a niche is number one on that list. of things you need to do to develop great story ideas. Also, writing on areas that you're passionate about. Writing on areas that you're passionate about. Don't let anyone tell you because there's been a primaries in Abuja, so you must write an episode. I mean, if you do not know anything about the primaries, that's bad enough. So there's no point to embarrass your village people again by going to write what you don't know. So you might want to, just keep that one aside and focus on something you are passionate about. I have a friend who is passionate about automobiles. He is passionate about writing about anything that has to do with automobiles, be it cars, be it power bikes. That is a niche. And he has gotten a lot of international recognitions. So we are hoping that one day Tesla is going to want to partner with him so he can review their brands and all. Now, there are some people who are passionate about aviation. That is also something. That's a niche. That's something you can also do while developing a great story idea. So it's really important that you create a niche for yourself. You write on areas that you're passionate about, and then you can follow up on what is trending. This is the easiest way to develop a story idea. Like the Stampede is trending, fine. The PDP primaries trending, fine. That's for politics. The dirt in River State is trending, fine. What again is trending? You can look at so many things that are trending. In the international scene, you can talk about the recent shooting of 19 students in the US. That is trending. These are things that you should follow up. You can follow up on trending stories, and you could that could help you to develop great story ideas. Okay. Another way to also develop great story ideas is writing stories when it comes to national issues. I think I've already touched on that. So you might always want to lend a voice to something that is national, a national issue. You could want to write a piece or two on national issues. That is a way to also create a great story idea. And don't write about everything. Again, write about the niche that concerns you. For example, if you are a health correspondent, and you want to write about the recent PDP primaries, which is trending, what you could do is you could look at the crowd, comparing it with what happened in Port Harcourt, the crowd control, the failure of crowd control. Why was the primary successful and then a freebies donation wasn't successful? That is something that a health reporter can talk about. You can even talk about, although COVID is no longer there, but you could also talk about some, the implications of having lots of people gather, possibilities of having a stampede even at the primaries. You could talk about hypertension, all the monies the politicians may have put into the electioneering process and their expectations are already dashed at the primaries. So many people will come down with HBP and all of that. That is a niche that a health correspondent can want to write about concerning a national issue. Then the part where I like so much, where hopefully I don't forget, before the end of the session, I'll share a link with the class rep, a link to some of my documentaries I have done. I want to really build up on. I'm sharing my knowledge, so it's okay. Personal stories. This is also another way that you can develop a story idea, a great story idea. Emphasis on great, not just a story idea. Great story idea, the one that people will read and look out for you. So personal stories. When you are looking for something to write, you have a chance to always go beyond the news cycle. You always have a chance to go beyond the press conferences, the press releases, the elections, he said this, he said that. Me as a reporter, if I'm being sent to do a job, of course I would go, but I never really enjoy the field part of my job where I have to go and sit and watch big men talk and I'm placing my midget. Say, sir, at the end I chase you around. I say, sir, what do you think? It bores me. When I'm done with it, I do not feel fulfilled. So personal stories has been something that has really kept me going. And I think you should try it as well. Personal stories of people's struggles, personal stories of a child who has to go to school without food in his stomach. Personal stories of children who have to sit on the floor and learn for 4 to 5 hours. Personal stories of the hope of a child that has been dashed because the national school feeding program has failed in the States. So if in my medium, I'm reporting the national school feeding program has failed, has stopped, and in your medium, someone left the group. Hope I'm not boring you. Hello?
Hi, ma.
Someone
You can
left.
go on. Well,
You can
listening.
go on, Ma. You can go on. The network is a bit bad from the person's end.
Okay. Okay, I just want to be sure I'm not boring people here. Okay, so I was talking about personal stories. So yes, a personal story on the child that his hope has been dashed because the school feeding program has ended. You know, that's a way of reporting it. So if in my medium, I'm reporting the national school feeding program has ended, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Hadia Sirika, has said this, that, whatever. So what? But you have a story where you have visited this boy and he tells you that there's no food in my house, so we always rely on the school feeding program and now it has failed. So when I get to school, I cannot even pay attention. You know, just imagine how such a story would sound. That is a personal story. So it's a great way to create or to developing a great news story ideas, personal stories. A woman frying akara along the road. Don't ignore her next time. Go and meet her, say, ma, this akara where you fry. How come the size they reduce every day? What's it happen? She tells you, beans don't add money. Oh. Ground you don't add money. Oh. Even the firewood set far they use, nobody they agree go farm again. And then you ask, why they need to go farm? She said, I don't know. They said that they kill them for farm. You find a way to meet a farmer. Say, that true, say, and then they go farm. Do you understand? He said, where they go farm, when we go to farm, did they rape us? Did they kill us? You see how your story keeps growing. But someone has reported, oh, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, inflation rate is this. So what? But you have a personal story that keeps you a step higher, that could one day bring your story to the national arena of conversations, and people will want to hear from you. Say, oh, Mr. Cookie, tell us about the story you did. How bad is it in Africa? Of course, that's what they want to hear. Africa is bad. So you can keep telling them that. Anyways, that's on the side. You can also want to do a personal story about nurses at the federal hospital who are on night shift and how there are no provisions for them. They sleep on the floor, mosquitoes at, for example, the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. Just go in there, find a nurse who will be anonymous. Say, madam, tell me about this. How do you cope at night? She'll start telling you. You write such a story and you put it out. The way you would get the recognition, you will not believe it. It comes effortlessly. But if you keep running around politicians to report their news, all they give you is 50,000, 100,000, and that's all. But the ones that are personal, the ones that have more human angle, are the ones that gives you the international recognition that you need as a journalist or as a reporter. Does anyone have any contribution at this point before we proceed?
All right, guys, the floor is please wait.
Hello?
Please,
Hello,
if you have
anybody?
a contribution, you can signal by raising your hands up.
Okay.
Okay, you can go ahead now.
Okay, I
It's
really
like
hope
they're
that.
waiting for you to conclude.
Okay. Please keep the questions. So when we are done, we would go through them together. Okay, so yes, personal stories. Personal stories goes hand in glove with single stories. Single stories, personal stories, single stories. Most of my documentaries are mostly on single stories. I did one during the COVID-19 pandemic. That one has been the greatest of all times for me. You know, I had people calling, a lot of people wanting to work with me now, according to people, and then they rush you because of a single story. So what happened in that one was I went there and I asked I had to flash deep into the lives of people, how the pandemic has affected you, how you sit at home, the hand washing rules, and it was all a myth because people told, I saw for myself that washing hands 3 times a day, it's not possible when you're buying water. And I had some UN people write me at some point and say, oh, wow, really? So does that mean the COVID-19 issue is not even going to happen, it's not catching up with any African? But that was such a big opportunity for me. I sat down, I explained what the job was, what led me to doing that, and the rest has been history. So I would encourage you in getting news story ideas, great news story ideas. Go with personal stories and single stories. You can single a family out, a family that has been affected by the stampede, a family of 4 that is now 3 because one person has gone. You ask them questions like, what led you to going for that free shopping? They'll tell you, say, do you really consider yourself that poor to have gone for that? Of course, there'll be regrets. Of course, some of them might be hostile because they will not want to allow you to exploit their grief. That's where you have to be very careful. Okay, so yeah, single story, personal stories, those are the key areas in getting new story ideas. Then local stories too. Localize your stories. I used to discuss with some people when I was on Cool FM, and you see, everyone is talking about Jay-Z, Rihanna, Beyonce, that, that, that. Of course, I was trying to do the pop culture thing, but I still saw a need to, I was looking for Port Harcourt artists. Okay, when they are done with Jay-Z, Jay-Z doesn't know me. Jay-Z would never know me, you know. But I wanted more of Port Harcourt, maybe A-list artists, B-list artists to come around. I wanted to meet them more. It was quite unfortunate at that point, I didn't meet them. So that's for entertainment. For news, it's also important that you look for local stories or you localize your stories. Please localize your stories. It is very important. Now, something has happened in Abuja. You localize it. How do you localize it? Getting people around the area to talk about it. Don't just go on Punch newspaper and you drag a story and you start reading. For example, you say Serapa said, that's socioeconomic rights, has said, has sued President Muhammadu Buhari to do that. Okay, after that, what next? Now, localizing the story will be looking for, let me say, a Port Harcourt-based lawyer or someone who can talk about it to say a thing or two. Now, you can look for people who are affected by that decision around you. Around you. When people listen and they hear their voices on radio or television, or they hear names of people that they know, they feel more at home. But if they keep hearing Sirinka from Adama or Lanre from the West, or it's so far off. And we say that news is proximity, right? I'm sure we have learned about that. We've learned about proximity of news, have we?
Not really, ma'am.
Oh, okay. That's like one of the major. Sorry?
I said you can actually intimate us in that.
Oh, wow. Talking about news, there's no way you talk about news without proximity. We have proximity, audacity. These things are like the features of news or qualities of news, whatever they call them in the academics, in this classroom. But we have oddity, we have proximity, we have conflict, we have superiority. There are a lot of them. So I'm afraid that you've not learned about that. But proximity is key when you're looking for news. So if I am in Port Harcourt now, Obiabo, and you want to be reading a news that happened in Abuja, Lagos, I don't understand. But if I hear that, oh, something around Obiabo axis, of course, I would increase the volume of my radio. So that's how you also create great news story ideas. People would relate more with you when they know that you care about them, you have them at heart. So there's a NEPA publication that Nigeria will not have light in the next one week, and you just take it like that. No. When you have gotten that report from the federal level, you look for the NEPA official around Obia or Falga or Oginiba or Emoha. Then you meet them, say, Oga, is it true? So what would this mean to people in Emoha? What does this mean to people in Oginiba? Then they break it down. So Oginiba people start hearing news that concern them. That will mean you localizing your news. But if you just read it on the periphery, they will just think, this country. But if someone explains it better to them, then they know where to go to. Should we run away? Should we stay? That is what localizing news means. It's about proximity, considering the people around you and giving them what you think they would like to hear. Another way you can also develop great story ideas would be writing on recent discoveries. Recent discoveries can mean writing on a new virus. As a health person, you can want to write on a new virus, or even as a tech person, or as a business person. Now, let me tell you a story, very short. When the COVID pandemic had started then, our health correspondent felt, oh, it's all health. So whenever we go out for news, I saw the correspondent always thinking, it's my beat. I'm like, so I cannot write anything on COVID, eh? So when they want to talk about COVID, they only call the health person. I'm like, no, you can actually think more. And then I went to the market. That was the early days. I went to the market and I'm asking people, so if this pandemic is what it is, what does it mean to your business? How would it mean? What will happen? What will happen to your goods that you have bought in your warehouse? And that was when the eyes of people actually opened up. Oh, wow, it's beyond going to the Ministry of Health and hearing them do press statements about the level of impact of the virus. So writing about new viruses, artificial intelligence, very important. You can write on artificial intelligence, how it's going to send a lot of people packing very soon, because we'll soon have robots doing a lot of things. So some professions that may be going under because AI is now the order of the day. So that's a way of creating new story ideas, especially if you have a blog. You can want to write about these things and, create very good content. So following up on stories as well, I think I mentioned that. Getting reactions, very important. Get reactions to localize your stories. Speak to people around you. Vox pops. Don't joke with vox pops. Vox pops are like the voice of God. That's the literal meaning of vox pop, voice of God. When you go to a public place and you're putting your mic before different people, but what do you think about this? What do you think? There is a voice of God. Through vox pops, you can get so much to talk about through vox pops. So someone says something about the fuel scarcity and how his car is going bad. That alone sends you to the mechanic to go and find out what are the dangers of using a bad fuel. The mechanic tells you, with bad fuel, brakes go to spoil, accidents go plenty. You head on to road safety. So what are we doing? Are we going to be expecting more accidents because of this? That's how you drive the conversation. Otherwise, you'll be waiting for who said, they said, and any day they don't say, no news. Any day nobody is saying, you have a dry news day. And I don't want anybody to experience a dry news day as a journalist. I really don't expect anybody to have a dry news day. So enterprise reporting is very key. If you must be successful as a journalist, as a broadcast journalist, is very key. But if you want to just go in as an OAP, they turn on the mic rather, and you start sounding very cool using British and American accents, that's fine. But if you want to sound original and be able to talk the news, and it will give you an edge when you spend maybe a year or two in the newsroom, and then you have to read the news. You will sound better than someone who just sits in the studio, crossing his or her legs, and then you accept the news. And then you read the news like, what's going on? But if you follow the news, you'll understand better. So even when your editor makes a big mistake, trying to talk about, for example, we have the movement for the survival of Ogoni people, right? MASSOP. We also have a similar acronym, MASSOP, MASSOP. So if you do not have nose for the news, if you are not a field person who doesn't also read, and your editor makes a mistake and puts out MASSOP, trust me, you go on air and you read MASSOP, and that is a big slap. That would be so embarrassing. So when you are able to, follow the news on the field and as well write the news, reading the news becomes a walk in the park. So I encourage everyone. I really encourage everyone. I didn't start off like this. Okusami has done a lot. I must say, he has done a lot for a lot of us in the media industry today. So that's why when he calls on us, say, come and do this, we don't have a choice. If you look behind me, I have my master's thesis I'm supposed to be on. I'm also attending some other programs, but I needed to do this. And I really, really wish that I could say more in other areas, but I told him I want to do news story ideas because I think that a lot of work still needs to be done. I'll wrap up with this example now. Let's talk about a car, CAR, generating a news story idea from a car. We all know what cars are. We enter cars to work. So if I place a car in front of you now, and I'm saying, who are the people on the group? Let me look for our participants. Okay, we have Cookie, we have Itari, we have Fabian, okay? And we say, Fabian, you have a car in front of you. Develop a news story or a couple of news story ideas from this car. What would you do? Fabian, are you there?
Mr. Fabian, you've been called upon.
Yes. Mr. Fabian, you can just turn on your mic. You can leave the audio. If you don't want me to see you, it's fine. So if you have a car placed in front of you and you are asked, develop story ideas from this car, what would you do?
Ma'am, I guess Mr. Fabian is not active. You can move on to someone else.
Okay. Michael Ebenezer, are you there? Am I calling on you guys, please?
Yes, I'm here, ma'am.
Okay, thank God. Okay, Michael, a car has been placed in front of you. A Corolla, just a Corolla Toyota. Sorry, Toyota Corolla rather. And you are asked to develop a story or story ideas from this car. What would you do?
Maybe I will start thinking of how much the components of the car cost, having it in mind that we don't produce in the country, we only import from other countries. Or maybe,
Okay.
yes. Or maybe start thinking of how to get the prices and prices of shipments, shipping those stuff down to Nigeria.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Mr. Ebenezer. Thank you. You can turn off your mic now. Nena Aga, you have a car placed in front of you and you are asked to develop a couple of story ideas, what would you do? Nen, are you there?
Nena, you're being called upon. Please answer.
Okay, if Nena is not there, let's work with Adobe Doris. Adobe, are you there?
Mom, on behalf of Adobe, I'll beg to ask you to ask someone else because it's not so strong. Talk at
Oh, okay. Okay, Aphrodite Oyi Apa, that's a lady. Aphrodite, can you please talk to us? Tell me you're here. Is she also available? And Nicholas, are you there? Class rep, what's wrong? They seem to just have turned on and gone to do other things.
No, ma, we are
a couple of persons that are still
available.
here. Yes, a couple of persons that are available.
Okay.
Please do well. If you're online at the moment, please raise up your hand. Just raise your hand.
Okay, Anne, I think Anne is here now. Anne. Anne.
Yes, I can hear you, ma'am.
Oh, all right. All right, thank you, Anne. Welcome. So I said you have a car placed in front of you, like a Toyota Corolla, and you're asked to develop a new story, a couple of new story ideas from the car. What would you do?
Okay. First of all, I will examine the vehicle. I will want to know how fast it can go. Then
Okay.
how safe. I want to check if the machine other stuff in the Toyota Corolla is
Okay.
functioning. I want to even compare it with another product.
Okay.
as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Anne. I appreciate your contribution. Okay, Olisa is here. Olisa, okay, let's hear from you. What would you do to the Toyota Corolla? How would you develop your new story idea?
Okay, ma. Good day, ma.
Good day.
First of all, I will try to focus it on my niche. So
Okay.
my niche is I'm into sports. So
Oh,
what
fine.
I'll do is, first off, I'll go and check when the Toyota Corolla was first created, or when the model it is. So let's say if it's like an old model that's in front of me, I will now compare it to a club that was good, but is actually on the downside now. So let's say I'm like Arsenal, a Toyota Corolla. Seeing that headline, everybody will be like, how is Arsenal a Toyota Corolla like that? Like that, or the components. I can even look at the components of the Toyota Corolla and try and carve it into my niche. Or how many football players have actually driven a Toyota Corolla? Like
True.
Yes.
True.
So that's what I'll be doing. I'll carve it according to my niche so that I will not be, because if I start writing on automobiles, I don't think I'll be really strong. So I just try to get a little detail, put it in my niche and be comfortable.
Okay, fine. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Who has Nena? Okay, Nena, let's hear you then before we move on. You'll be the last contribution for this session.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Okay, for me,
Welcome.
I would talk about the advantages or maybe disadvantages of the car.
Okay.
If it's an accident-free car,
Okay.
and then maybe the speed, length, and I think that's all.
Okay.
And the content of the car, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. You all have done so well. Thank you. Thank you. I think we are really following. What you said, everything you said, I just Perfect. Right on the spot. Perfect. Very good. Very good. Now, the easiest way to do this, because it's not all the time you would have the luxury of thinking about all of this. This is good. Components of the cars and the cost of the car. That was from Ebenezer. How fast the car can go, comparing it with other brands. That's from Anne. The model of the car when it was created, as well as components. Nicola said that. And for Nena, advantages and disadvantages of the car, the speed of the car, and components as well. That is very, very true. And I say true because all of you covered components, and components is key. When you see a car, what do we see? We see tires, we see brake pads or brake pedals. It could involve the brake pedals, the acceleration. We see pedals, we see tires, we see windshield, we see side mirrors, we see door handles, we see seat belts, safety belts, we see airbags, at least something that shows us that the car has airbags. We see boots, we see engines, we see petrol. I don't know if you're seeing all of this now in the car. All of these things are things that we see every day in the car. Do you know you can make great story ideas from things as little as this? Very great story ideas. Okay, so let's talk with the side mirror. Okay, sorry. Let's talk with the side mirror of the car. Something as little as a side mirror. You can want to do a fantastic report on side mirrors and why lots of taxis do not think they should have side mirrors. If you're going from Rumokoro to Choba or Rumokoro to Mile 3, how many buses or taxis have side mirrors? With just this one, you can talk, people will talk, road safety will talk, road users will talk, drivers will talk, mechanic will talk. How many persons? 6 persons. This is going to be a great and lengthy report from just side mirror. That's why I said, we all said good, everything you said was fine. But in getting great news ideas, it doesn't even mean thinking so much, thinking far. As little as that side mirror. Now, someone will be saying, oh, how does side mirror influence? I'm a health reporter. If people die, it's not health. So if you're having more accidents, life at risk. So the road safety man tells you, oh, we recorded more accidents this period because cars do not have side mirrors. You go and ask them, so who is approving the cars? Because roadworthiness is also required. Then they tell you, people are cutting corners, so to get a driver's license and car roadworthiness certificates. You see that your story is growing from just the side mirror. Now we go to tires. Talk about tires, we have brand new tires, we have Tokumbo tires. You go and visit a tire shop. You say, Oga, which kind of tire you they sell? Sorry, I want to use this because on the field, you mostly use pigeon. I'm sorry, apologies. Apologies. I still have a pigeon brand, so it's fine. I switch sometimes. Okay, so you go to a tire shop. You say, oh God, which kind of tire you they sell? He tells you, they say brand new and Tokumbo. And you tell him, which one they sell pass? He tells you, my sister, Tokumbo they sell pass. So he say, why? They cheap. People like to buy them. Then you go to a road safety person or a safety HSC person. He says, sir, what are the dangers of driving with Tokumbo tires? He tells you, oh, it's not safe because when the rain falls, they are slippery, they do not have teeth, they can cause accidents, the story is flying. So something as little as the rain that has fallen today and the fact that the River State Waste Management, they are not doing their job anymore, can give you a resounding report if you're on the field. And if you look at it critically, it will cover a lot of sectors. Health is there, environment is there. For me, my niche is actually environment journalism, so I report more on environment.
Are we still there? It's like we lost our lecture.
We're wrapping up very soon. I'm almost done. Are we there?
Yes, ma'am, we
You
are
can go
here.
ahead, ma'am. You
Okay.
can go ahead,
So
ma'am.
yeah, yes. So we talk about the rain that has fallen and how all the debts will not enter into the gutters, and those debts are going somewhere. And somewhere around you, they have people living at the water side. So many things. It's just a bit of thinking, and not thinking about the big things, thinking about the small things. So when you understand that creating great story ideas is as little as this pen, this pen here is as little as this pen, finding out the content of the pen. Oh, just asking questions. I have a hair on. You're asking me, why do I choose to wear this hair? I tell you, I like to wear it because it's sleek and I wear it for some occasions. Then you ask, so how much does it cost? I tell you, compared to the braids that are almost cheaper. So why don't I? But abroad, they like to braid. Different stories. Now, a girl child report is a fantastic one that I think people should go into, especially guys. The international community want to hear that guys are passionate about the girl child safety. So you might want to develop a niche there, reporting about the girl child. Why is a girl child treated this way? Gender-based violence, female genital mutilation, out of school children, especially girls, women as victims of poverty, rape, sexual violations. These are different areas, so many. But when you're doing all of this, don't forget to create that niche. Even in the gender-based story, you can always create a niche for yourself. You could talk about, why women are not having access to a lot of things, employment, health sector, so many things. Make sure that you're passionate about it, which is also very key. And then you can do the key area, which is a single story. You focus on a single story.
Yeah,
A single story. Hello?
Please, you may go on, ma. I think there was just an interference.
Okay, so yes, I think that'll be all. I told you I didn't have anything written down. All I've just shared my wealth of experience. I'm going to share a link with the class rep, so she would share it later on, so you can want to watch a few things. Some may not be up there because they are paid for, but it's fine. Well, you can always reach out. You can always reach out. Yeah, let's take the questions so that we can go and rest. So Monday, and we have a lot of things. I'm sure you have another class.
All right, guys. The lecture for today has just.
We have questions, contributions. Okay, let me look at the chat. Okay, in response, Fabian is responding to the question. Okay, in response to the question, I could focus on the fuel consumption compared to others. Fine. When you're doing fuel consumption, don't forget to talk about the price of fuel too. So you bring it down. So how much cars consume when petrol is at 165?
If we have questions, please raise your hands if you have.
Any questions? I will not feel good if there are no questions. So please ask questions. No question is silly, or please. Don't feel like you don't have a good question. Ask. Okay, my niche is actually environment journalism. Environment journalism, and that's because even on my thesis, I'm also working on environment journalism. Most of my works are actually about environment, degradation, spillage, open defecation, where people have to pull into the river, flooding, COVID-19 pandemic. So anything that has to do with the environment, the waste disposal as well, environment. Anything that has to, but I still do other things. But for my personal my personal portfolio, my personal jobs, they're all environments mostly. So the environment, how it affects the girl child. So you go to the slum, people are pulling into the water at night and early mornings. The safety of the girl child is also there. So yeah, environment, the health benefits, the health hazards, environment. Okay, any more questions?
Nicholas, please ask your question.
Ma, please talking about this girl child of gender-based violence. If, for instance, because there was this time in Akwa Ibom, a girl was abused by her father and also one other relative. So, as a journalist, as you're interviewing her, and to avoid this permanent stigma mark, how do you like keep her profile on the low? Ma?
Okay, thank you. Who asked the question?
And Nicholas asked the question, madam.
Okay, all right, thank you, Anne. Fantastic, Anne, thank you. You see, we are driving a narrative or pushing a cause that says shaming the perpetrator and not the victim. That's what our predecessors missed when they started this whole journalism thing. They failed to shame the perpetrator, they now shame the victim. And they shame the victim unknowingly because they put out the identity of the victim as well as the perpetrator. But the journalism that we're advocating for this period is the journalism of shaming the perpetrator and safeguarding the victim, protecting the victim. Whether the victim is a male or a female, whether the victim was right or wrong, you protect the victim. Now, in a case like that, you do not, for any reason, put out the name of the girl. You can choose a pseudonym. I also feel bad that people put out the names of their parents because my name is Jennifer Emejuru. Something happens to me, I mention my father's name, my mother's name. People always trace it back to me. So you can always, if it's a TV medium, like a visual medium, you can want the girl to back the television. You just have the back of the girl showing while you're doing your report. If it's for radio, you could record the voice and tweak the voice to sound different. But you tell your listeners that that was a tweaked voice of the victim. So because you want to protect her, you do not want her to sound original. So you tweak her voice to sound like an old woman or an old man or like a guy or like a girl, whatever it is. For you to do everything within your means to protect the victim. Now also protecting the victim would mean reporting the story, making sure the victim gets to a safe house. A safe house is like what we have in Port Harcourt here, River State Social Welfare, a safe house where you can send her to while you're undergoing this process. Because if you still leave her with her perpetrator, then you have just made matters worse. Now, for example, my husband is raping and beating me in the process, and you carry my story and you leave me with my husband, and he's still beating me. Don't you think he's going to kill me before you come back? So protecting me would mean taking me to a safe house while investigations are on, while you're reporting, and you make sure that you're doing a good job. You're not exploiting the grief of the person, which is what most journalists do. And I didn't want to touch this part, but that will also lead us to what we call solution journalism. As a journalist, it should be solution-based, not just hearing their problems. If you cannot find a solution for them, sometimes don't even do the reports. At least try your best. You have connections. You have contact. If someone calls you, I'm being raped by my father, don't just take the report and go and break it. No, after breaking it, you can go back and report to FIDA, report to the police, follow up on that story. So that's what solution journalism is about. I'm not going to touch solution journalism today, please, so that we can all go. But
Okay.
yeah, and Nicholas, I think that answered the question.
Ada, you're back online, right? Are you moderating now?
Okay.
Ada, can you hear me?
Ejiro, you just interrupted the lecturer now. She was
Okay,
speaking.
Fabian. Oh, sorry. From my end, she had concluded.
It's okay.
From my end, she had concluded. Okay, and Fabian asked the question.
Yeah, I think I've answered
And Fabian
Fabian's
asked the question. He says, how do you get people to relate in your needs? Sorry, what's it called? Fabian Joy rather. Fabian Joy rather. He asked, what do you do when people tend not to accept?
Sorry? Okay,
The
yeah.
question is, you can go ahead, Mario, about something.
I think I can see this one from Fabian Joyful. What do you do when your niche is not what people are passionate to hear about? Abi?
Definitely.
Okay. Okay. So that's why it's your niche. The truth is, just like we know in the church or in Christendom, we say the road to prosperity or success or whatever, to the kingdom of God is narrow, while the road to destruction is wide, right? That's how it also happens here. So if people are not interested in your niche, that shows that your niche is untapped. It shows that you have a lot of work to do. It shows that you have a lot of personal stories to do. Trust me, don't make anyone tell you nobody's interested in your niche. Is a lie. Mention a niche. Okay, just mention a niche people are not interested in, and I'll tell you that people can be interested if you put in the work. If you put in personal stories, follow-up stories, researches, reaction, people will be interested. Is it business? Is it aviation? Is it water? Something as little as water that we drink. People are interested. You go to Ogoni, you see that people are interested in water. So if your report is Ogoni report, are you not doing good? They will look for you. So I don't think anyone should ever think that your niche is not accepted or people are not passionate to hear. Make them to be passionate. Be in their faces every day with sound reports. Be in their faces every day with local stories of what is happening, and they will come looking for you. And it's also good enough. This conversation is also very good if you want to go into a talk radio, which is where I belong, a talk radio. See, I've been talking for almost 2 hours because it's something that I'm passionate about. So if you have a niche or you have personal stories, things like this, when you are done with your field work for the week, when you come on air and you start talking, tell me how people will not be interested in that thing that you think they're not passionate. We'll call you and say, Nicholas, have you seen these people around my street? I didn't know. Thank you for having this conversation. So don't ever think that there's no niche that is people are passionate about. Did I answer that question well? Okay. And this other one, quite lengthy. Adolfo Steven, he says, Ma, you talked about switching off, if I heard you correctly. You said if you hear about so many same stories about the PH King's Assembly Church Stampede. Okay, isn't it possible to report until something happens? I'm trying to see that stuff like this that doesn't happen anymore. Okay, very true. The summary of your question is, do we have to wait for a stampede before we can report? Abi? If that's it, please say yes. Adolphus, is that what your question is about?
Adolphus, are you there? Mom, yes, Adolphus.
If I'm going to react to his question, but I think I should just hold on. I'll come back to the hand that is up. Oh yes, okay. He said my question. Yes, ma. Okay, yes, true. You can report. That's where I said enterprise reporting, so that we don't have to wait for a stampede before we report. Because I said most stations will be talking about it now because journalists don't have anything to say again. They don't go on the field. I go on the field and I still go on air. So I know that sometimes I sound better when I have interfaced with these people. But you will say that more people will talk about stampede, 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 and that's all. So that's where enterprise reporting comes in for me. This is my personal thought on the question. If you have harnessed enterprise reporting, then you don't have to wait for a stampede for you to start. Hey, thank God, if I go on air today, everywhere stampede, stampede. What is that? So when there is no stampede, we should offer a radio. So when there are no stampedes, that's where your own enterprise reporting comes in. Your own news story ideas come in. That's where the road safety story about, side mirrors should come in. And then you're speaking with facts from a place of fact. That is if you're going on air as an OAP on a talk station. Please don't carry everything I've told you and go and say on a music station. You will lose your followers. But if you're on a talk station and you're saying this, you expect an award any moment. So you can always have conversations even when there are no stampedes, okay? We don't want to hear that such a thing is happening. Honestly, I feel bad. We don't want to hear that. But when things like this happen too, it's also a chance for you to cover the lacuna. There are so many gaps. Now you find out what went wrong. The crowd control, what happened? Then you have an expert talk about crowd control. We talk about early morning events like this. We talk about doing such an event in batches. The job of a reporter is to inform, educate, and entertain, and sometimes say to develop. So you need to do all of these things. So we must always ask questions, follow the news where it breaks, have nose for news, be nosy for news, not for, if they are gossiping somewhere, I'm not saying gossip about, gossiping somewhere, something that would interest you, you put your nose there, you hear, you go back, you make your findings, you call people, and then you wait to see if really it's something worthy. So have the nose for news, like we always say. All right, whose hands are up? Over to you.
Okay, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I want to ask, what do you do when you want to interview someone, maybe a victim, and the person don't want to talk to you? What do you do?
Okay, thank you so much. I have been at a family where they lost somebody and I wanted to interview them and they said no. So you can seek their permission. If the victim himself or herself doesn't want to speak, people around the victim can speak. Now, people around the victim can speak, family members who are available to speak can speak. If they don't want to speak, a neighbor can speak about how they got to know about the person. If the neighbor doesn't want to speak, at least a chief, the CSO, someone, depends on what happened. If there was a court clash in the area, somebody must be willing to, the chief might want to speak. The CSO might want to speak to exonerate themselves. Youths in the area might want to speak about how frequent things like this happen. Bearing in mind what happened. So you can just write, there has been a shootout leading to the death of a 5-year-old boy. The boy who was shot at his home, was a child to a popular, notorious something. And then you go to the notorious gang leader. You want to speak and he says, no, guy, you don't have to go back to your office and say, they don't want to speak. Oh, we'll send you out of the newsroom. You think about what to do. So they don't want to speak. What about people in the area? What about the eyewitness? What about the other people that have children? How do they feel about the safety of their children now that this kind of thing has happened? Are they thinking of relocating from the area? Are they thinking of, sending their children out because they're targeting children these days? There's always something. Another thing, I want to also say this. If there is a controversy, which is also what news is about, if there's a controversy and nobody wants to speak, when you keep having people around speak, you would be shocked how the main people that are affected will be the ones to call you on phone and say, hey, this reporter girl, oh yeah, come, let me tell you the real thing. Now they're the ones begging you. I'm not saying you carry fake news, but something has happened. You gather reactions, you're getting reactions. If you keep hearing, one day they will tell you, all right, come, let's tell you how it really happened. this is something that has worked for me and is working for a lot of people. And I think you should do it, but you don't have to go and exploit their grief. Thank you. Exploiting their grief means don't go there because person has died. You're running news day. You want to just go and break it. No, you have to come down to their level. Make them feel like you're on their side. Someone has lost a daughter. It's not a simple thing. Don't just go there and bring out your mic. No, make them feel that you're on their side. Tell them that these reports can help save the life of other girls around the area. Tell them that this report can make the government to do something about our streets that do not have street lights. And that's why this girl was killed and there are no CCTVs. Make them to feel like you're on their side and they will talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Is there any other question? Do we have any other questions?
Yes, please. Yes, please. My hands are up. Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Ma. I just want to find out from you, can someone be versatile, have more than one niches? If there's anything like that. Because I I just want to know, can you be multi? Okay.
Yes, yes. If you can if you have the energy, if you can, why not? It's not like your brain is targeted that, as I am now, would die with environmental journalism. Is a lie. Later on, I might think that, this health, maybe I should enter health and do environmental. I'll do it. So your head is not tailored to one area. But I'm just saying that, like we always say, jack of all trade, master of none, but that's not true. You can actually be jack of a lot of trade, master of some. So you can actually have 2 to 3 niches if you can close the gap at all times. If you be available at all times.
Okay, Ma. Thank you.
If you be available at all times. Yeah. My battery is running very low.
Okay,
all right, you're welcome. My battery
just
is running low.
Just wanted to know what's your attraction to environmental journalism, that you made your niche. What was the attraction for you?
Okay, thank you. My attraction was, first of all, people do not talk about the environment as much. My attraction from the first day was, like, I have a lot of dresses in my house and I have a bag of old clothes. So I was always wondering, what do I do with this old clothes? So I stumbled on the research, was somewhere in India, and about an ocean that was full of jeans. I think I'm going to wrap up with this. An ocean full of jeans. And that's because people just wear and throw their jeans away. And then I discovered that when the jeans are thrown away and they find their way to the river, the fishes eat them. And then the fishes eat them. There's this recycle of, we eat the fish and then we go back again. So I just felt like, caring for the environment, caring for the environment. Decided, okay, I'm decided. Sorry, I have a call coming in. I need to wrap up now. Are we there? Why are you calling more than once now? How do people call more than once? Twice. Okay. Am I still with you?
Mom, you went off.
Okay, yeah. So he led me to environment journalism, and I've enjoyed my time there. This village, I'm from this part of the country. I'm from River State, by the way, and the oil, the spillages, the gas flaring, impact on people, suits, no toilets, yet we have oil, we're giving oil out. So all of those things, just like, okay, fine. What do I do? What do I do? And it's a good way for me to, want to always, I've never had a day without having something. Sometimes sometimes my major challenge with even putting on my reports are having like my team, because mine is a visual medium. I do like documentaries. So it's not only for radio. I go take pictures, videos, proper documentaries I've aired on big platforms. So that's like a challenge sometimes, getting people who understand where you're coming from and what you're doing. So that's why I'm also still trying to learn how to use the camera, but it's not easy. But if it was a radio drama, I can find my way around the audio. I can edit my work on my own. I don't need any assistance. But for television or for visual medium, yes. So, but environment is really passionate to me. I'm passionate about environment. It affects me as a woman. And environment is broad. The streets environment, the air environment, water environment. So yeah, I think that was what led me to it. And it was not long ago. It was about 3 to 4 years ago. I really picked my niche. Other times, anywhere Belle face. But I still do the anywhere Belle face reports. But my main reportorial jobs are mostly on the environment. And those are the ones that fetched me recognition, money, and the rest. So yeah.
Thank you so very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Class rep, I don't know. Uncle Sammy would have to tell me what to do next time, but I'm sure I'm done here. I've spent over an hour, 30 minutes.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
I need to go.
We appreciate.
All right. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best. You're welcome. I wish you all the best. My parting words, be free to work for free.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Be free to work for free. Be ready to work for free, rather, after your training. Do not think that any media house will be open for you one time. Just go in there, break in. Once you step your foot inside, then you can now bring what you have to the table. You know, be ready to work for free. Uncle Sammy knows my story. We know our stories. So work for free, put in your best, show up when you need to show up. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for having me. I'll share the links to my work with the course rep. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.